Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I get really excited when I'm asked to talk about debt management or financial management because it's something that I'm very passionate about. I strongly believe in financial literacy because it's the foundation to having financial success. And if you're financially literate, then it means that you're going to be equipped with the knowledge and skills that you need to be able to manage your money effectively. So today I'm just going to be sharing with you all 6 strategies that I share with a few of my clients that help them to either save more money or get them out of debt. I've only got about 10 minutes. So I'm going to try to compress this, but there's a Q&A session right at the end. So if you have any questions, just write them down and ask at the end. But I'll also share my contact details so you can send me an email if you have any questions. So I'll just give you a brief background about myself. So my name is Amina Odukoya. I've worked in financial services for the last 8 years, which is basically all of my career. I started off in retail banking, working in the branch network, and then I moved over to small business sales. And currently I work in corporate payments, and I work primarily with executive level clients in the corporate travel industry. And when I'm not doing my 9 to 5, I'm curating content for a personal blog that I own, called Naomi's Palo, and it's basically aimed at inspiring and empowering women through story sharing. So just check that out because there's a few, everything I'm going to be talking about today, I've already written content in relation to that, so you always have that as well to refer to. So let's go into the tea for today. Financial management and budget planning. So I was reading an article recently and it talked about how there's about 8.3 million people in the UK that are in debt, and 22% of UK adults have less than £100 in their account. And I personally found the statistics quite shocking because it meant that if there's anything that was to happen unexpectedly to those people, then they'll be in financial shock and not really be able to kind of manage their money. So when I tend to have these sessions about money management or debt management, I always tell people that the key to financial management is through budgeting. And when we talk about budgeting, a lot of people get scared because they think, we're trying to limit them as to how to spend. But the key thing that you need to know is that budgeting is not about restricting what you spend or cutting money on the fun out in your life. Because I like to have fun. If you ask anyone, they will tell you I go on a couple of holidays every year, but I'm still going to bank my coins when I need to and when I have to. So budgeting is really about understanding how much money that you have that comes in and goes out of your account on a monthly basis, and then planning how to allocate those funds effectively so that you're able to see exactly where your money is going on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, depending on how you want to do your budgeting. Now, the very first thing I talk about when I'm doing these sessions is I ask people, have you tracked your income and have you tracked your expenses? And this is where things start to get a bit interesting because people will go, oh, I know exactly how much I spend. I spend XYZ amount on my rent, I spend XYZ amount on my council tax, I spend XYZ amount, on my shopping. And then I ask them to bring their bank statements. And when we start to nitpick, I'm starting to ask, okay, that's £7.99. What did you spend it on? Why are you spending £200 on this day on food, but you're spending like £10 every other week on food as well? So people now start to realize that, even though they think that they know where their money is going, they're not really having a full budget plan. When I ask people to track their expenses, I always try to encourage them to do this from when they get paid. So for example, if you get paid on the 1st of the month, pick up your bank statement from the previous month, for example, look at every single thing that's gone out of your account from the 1st of the month to the 30th of the month and put that into categories. So, if you're doing rent, put that into one category, your council tax, any insurances that you pay, if you got fuel, make sure every single thing on there is budgeted for. Anything that you've used if you're a smoker, what you've used to buy your cigarettes, what you've used for alcohol. You need to really nitpick and be kind of truthful to yourself, because if you're not being this extensive when you're tracking your expenses, then you're going to fail the challenge. Basically, you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, once you've tracked all your expenses, you then need to look at the monthly income that you get on a monthly basis. And it's the simple case of doing addition and subtraction. If you deduct the income from the expenses and you end up with a positive figure, then well done on you. It means that you're on track. However, you could be saving more. And I'll get into that further down the line. But if you're obviously in a negative figure, then you're in trouble, because it means that at the end of or at the beginning of every month, you start in debt, and you're just going to keep on rolling over and over and over again. And you're going to end up being one of the 22% of UK statistics who have no money in their bank account and are not able to fend for themselves if there's any financial thing that comes up. Now, once you've tracked your income and your expenses, you then need to create a budget. Now, creating a budget is very, very, very easy. And I always tell people, all you need to do is just pick up a pen and write it down. The hard part is being able to stick to that budget. So when you're going to start doing this, you really need to sit yourself down and say to, say, Amina, this is the beginning of the start of my life. Are people saying they can't see the presentation?
Yeah.
Can everyone see the presentation? Perfect. Okay.
I definitely can't. I can't. It's the first time I'm using the app. So it's a bit weird for me. I've never used it before, so I'm probably looking at the wrong place.
That's fine. If you can't see the presentation, it's fine. I can always email it to you after. It just has bullet points of everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So I'm going to just carry on. Again, if you have any questions, please just leave it to the end, and there's going to be a Q&A session. Yeah. So back to creating a budget. When you're creating your budget, you have to be really realistic with yourself. You need to know your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. And when I talk about fixed expenses, those are things like your rent, your council tax, electricity bill, water bill, because those are figures that will never change on a monthly basis. You know that your rent is never going to change, your council tax bill is never going to change in a yearly period anyway. So things like that will be under your fixed expenses. And when I'm talking about variable expenses, it's things like your groceries, because the price of food is going to change from time to time. Things like your fuel, the price of fuel is going to change from time to time. But make sure that you're allocating every single thing that you've done when you track your income on the first step. You're doing this in your budgeting. And when people are doing budgeting, I try to advise them, if they can, to try to stick to the 50, 30, 20 rule. Now, this is just a general rule. You can always amend this to your personal circumstances. And when I say the 50, 30, 20 rule, it means that whatever you're getting on a monthly basis in your income, 50% of that ideally should be going to things that you need. 30% of that should be going to things that you want, and 20% of that should be going to your savings. Now, I had a conversation with a young lad who's in uni, and I said to him, the 50, 30, 20 rule doesn't necessarily apply to you. That particular person lived at home, so really 50% of his income wasn't going to be going into things that he needed. So what we then did was we split that, where 20% was going to his needs, and then 30% was going to what he wants, and the rest was going into his savings. So you really need to be adjusting the 50, 30, 20 rule to your personal circumstances. And if you find that you're spending more than 50% on the things that you need, you might want to adjust your wants and really ask yourself, when you're about to make that purchase for a new shoe or a new appliance, do you really, really need that in your life at that particular time? Is it something that can wait? Can you budget over, say, 6 to 12 months to be able to make that purchase later? There's quite a lot of budgeting tools online. I personally use an Excel spreadsheet. But one that I always recommend to people is the one by Money Savings Expert. And I'm going to try to kind of share that now. So just let me know when you can see that. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to go back to presenting. Your entire screen. Can anyone see anything yet?
Nope.
Can anyone see anything now?
Okay, yeah. I think we're getting
see an Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is the one that I always ask people to download from moneysavingsexpert.com. It's free and it's very, very extensive. So if you're trying to do this for the first time and you need a bit of help, just go to moneysavingsexpert.com and download this. I'm just going to do a quick run through of how this works. So on the very first tab, it says getting started, and it just gives you a summary of, how the spreadsheet works. So you just flip over to the next tab and click on what you earn, and I'll scroll to the top. So when you're doing what you earn and you're clicking a figure in this yearly tab here, make sure that you're putting your salary after your tax and NI deductions have gone, because if you don't, it just literally divides what you're earning by 12, and that's not going to be a true representation of what you earn. So I've just put a round figure for now of 25,000 this person gets yearly after the tax and NI has gone, and that's literally done the calculation to £2,083.33 on a monthly basis. So that's the first page. And when you go to the next tab, you then go extensively and start to put figures in what you spend. And this is really, really great. So you start from, expenses in your home and you work your way down to insurance. If you eat, you go out a lot, you smoke, it really, really accounts for every single thing on there. Eating out, what you spend on transport, if you've got any card and loan repayments, any savings and investments that you do, anything that you spend on your family. So this is a really, really great tool. I really do advise that you download this. So once you've put all the figures in there, you just go on to spending total. So I put some figures in there as an example. So based on the figures that I've put in there, you can see that it's giving kind of a pie chart for this person, how much that they spend, how much goes into savings, and it's done that breakdown on this tab here. And once you've done all of that, you click on check your results. And on here, so based on the figures that I've put, you can see that this person at the end of every month has an extra £64 on an average that they have, for whatever. So if that figure ends up in red, so I'm just going to go back and alter some figures, for example, just so that you see how that works. You can see that immediately you change that figure on there, it tells you that this person is in debt by £285 on a monthly basis. So that tool is very, very great when you're doing your budgeting. Again, it's on moneysavingsexpert.com, but I can send a link for you to download that for your budgeting. So I'm going to go back again to my slides. Bear with me 1 second. And just let me know when you can see the create a budget slide again. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Now, once you've done your budgeting, this is where things start to get really real between me and my client, because I start to tell them this is when you need to remove any unnecessary spending that you have. Now, we're in COVID times right now. People are on furlough, people are working from home more, gyms are shut. So if you're still paying for your gym membership, now is the time to either cancel that or see if you could go on a payment holiday. There's free apps that you can use now to exercise. You can go on YouTube, download the Cow to 5K app. Your subscription plans, you still really need to be paying for those now. So things like my contact lens subscription, for example, I've had that cancelled because I only need to wear contact lenses when I'm driving, and I'm driving less now at the minute, so I don't really need to be paying for contact lenses. Little things like that add up at the end of the year. Imagine paying £20 every month on contact lenses times 12, that's £240 that I would have at the end of the year. Now is also the time for you to start thinking, are you able to switch suppliers? So things like your car insurance, for example. If you've gone on a car insurance scheme where you're paying a monthly fee based on you doing an annual mileage of £10,000, now it's time for you to call your car insurance company and say, okay, based on COVID times, I'm not going to be doing 10,000 miles, at this particular time. Are we able to adjust that plan? People should really be thinking about switching their electricity supplier. That's one thing that I switch on a yearly basis, because I always find that I will get more value for my money for the same level of service as another supplier. So if you go to a website like comparethemarket.com, they will be able to basically compare suppliers from all over the UK based on whatever your current usage is at the time. And then you'll be able to see if you're paying, less or more, and you can always switch. But things like that, you should be switching every year. Your internet supplier, if you use Virgin, Sky, Broadband, any of those companies, they tend to increase their fees every single year. The trick is when you get that letter that your fees have been increased, give them a call and threaten to leave, and you'll be surprised that not only will they knock that price down, they'll probably sometimes even knock it to lower than you were paying before. And a lot of people just see that letter and take it for face value, but you need to be ringing because every single penny counts. Another thing that I always tell people is, are you able to get money back for spending? Sign up to websites like Top Cashback, where they basically give you money for spending. I personally, as much as I love the finer things in life, I find it very, very hard to pay full price for anything. So if I'm doing a shop for my child, for example, I don't shop January to November. I will do one big shop in the next sale in December, because I'm getting the exact same items for less. If I'm going to make a purchase online, I've got these apps on my browser. One's called Honey, one's called Pouch. And what those applications do is they scout the internet for discount codes. So instead of paying £50 for an item, I could end up paying £44. And sometimes it's just a situation of asking yourself, this thing I want to buy, do I really need it now? Or can you plan and budget for that in the future? And when it comes to unnecessary spending, I really start to tell people this is where things start to get real. So when people are making plans for the future or making plans for now, basically just leave the questions to the end.
Okay.
And making plans, you really, really need to be asking yourself that question: do I need this now? I had a client recently where they came to me to do a debt management plan, and they had 2 kids, and they said they were talking about having another kid. And sometimes I really have to be candid and just say, you don't have another £12,000 to shell on childcare. You should not be thinking of having another child now. You need to be focusing on clearing your debt and then banking money, you know, for your financial security for yourself and for the children that you have. And once you've cleared that, you can start to think of that. And a lot of people, especially Africans, we don't realize that, you know, these are things that you need to be planning for. You can't just say, oh, you know, you have this if you have a child. Look at your finances, because at the end of the day, you don't want to, you know, be in a situation where you're now thinking or feeding from hand to mouth. It's not a very fun situation to be in. So once you've done all of that by tracking your expenses, this is a very, very important bit. You need to check your credit score. I find it very shocking, the number of people who don't even go, just some comments, who don't even check their credit file or check the credit score. Bad markers in your credit file, guys, will stay up there for up to 6 years. So if you have a bad marker on your file for the next 6 years, potentially you could be limiting yourself from being able to get any form of credit or any form of loan. You also need to be checking your financial associations. And when I say financial associations, I'm saying when you're signing up for a mortgage with somebody or a joint credit card or a loan. Again, I always advise women when they come to me, I say, listen, I understand that you're in love and things are lovey-dovey, but you need to be having conversations about money with your potential partner, because you don't want to go all your life giving yourself good credit and then end up dating somebody who has bad credit. You then go in a financial association with that person. And what happens is, even though that will not impact your credit score, it could impact your ability to borrow in the future. So if you've got somebody that you're dating that's got a bad credit score, I strongly advise to not financially associate yourself with that person. Get that person a debt management plan to then pay off their debt so that both of you can be on the same stead. Places that you can go to check your credit score for free. Experian do one way, they give you your score for free. But if you want more in-depth information, I think they charge you £14.99 on a monthly basis. So I don't really advise you to use that. If you use ClearScore, which is the one that I use, it's very, very extensive and it's a free option. It's very detailed. It will tell you when you signed up for a particular product, how much you pay on a monthly basis, if you've had any late payments on there. It also has a tab on ClearScore where it tells you, you know, if you're going to be eligible for any loans or credit cards, and it goes as far as telling you which lender is going to lend you money, like for real. So it tells you, oh, 100%, this, if you apply through this company, you're 100% likely, you know, to get that credit. With credit applications, you really need to understand that you cannot be applying for things on your credit file too many times in a year. I always advise, if you're going to do it, give yourself 6 months in between. Yeah, Credit Karma is also a good one, backing. Thank you for that. So with credit applications, you need to really be limiting, you know, how much you're applying, because the more hard searches that you have on your credit file, the more lenders tend to see you as less credible. So don't just go about going, oh, I'm going to try to, you know, apply for X, Y, Z. You need to be spacing that out, especially if you're planning for something like a mortgage, for example. I always tell people, if you're going to get a house, say 1 year down the line, then you need to have been clearing your credit report 12 months behind to make sure that when you're then ready to purchase that house, there's nothing on there. When you're checking your credit report as well, I always get people to check that there's no errors on there, because a lot of people will find that they've been associated with somebody who's got a similar name to them, who maybe has missed a payment, and that then impacts them and stays up for 6 years. So please, 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 when you're having a look at your credit report, ensure that every information that's up there is correct and is yours. Now, once you've done all of that, if you find that you're still in debt, one thing I do advise is to consolidate your debt, but only be doing this when necessary and if necessary. So I recently helped a lady pay off £15,000 in debt over the space of 2 years. And it sounds crazy, but yes, it worked. So what happened was she had a few credit card loans, a few unsecured loans, and a few car loans. And the APRs on those 3 things are ranging from about 10% to about 29.99%. And she's been keeping up with the payments on a monthly basis, but she felt that because she had so many things on her file that she was paying for, that she was never going to be eligible to be able to get a good rate. I got her to sign up on ClearScore, and when she went on the tab where it tells you what you can borrow, she found out that she was able to borrow £15,000 to clear up all that debt for a 4.9% APR, and she was able to do that for a shorter time frame. So all the things that she had outstanding before, she was going to be paying off over the space of 3 years. But by consolidating that debt and getting a cheaper APR, she was able to pay that off over 2 years and pay less. So initially, she was paying about £650 every month for credit card, unsecured, and car loans altogether. But by consolidating the debt, she was able to paying off one loan at £550. So not only was she able to pay off her debt in a shorter time frame, she was also able to save money. So those are the things that you need to be checking if you're going to consolidate your debt. Check your APR, do the addition, and just see if it works for you. If it works for you, great. Try to find a great way, consolidate your debt, and you might end up saving money and paying less. Now, if you find that you're not able to get a good rate that would be able to let you consolidate that debt to a good monthly fee, one tip I would say to people, pay off your higher interest loans first. There's no point whatsoever in you putting money in a savings account when you've got a credit card or a loan where you're paying 30% APR. Like, it makes no sense, because you're going to end up just paying interest on something that's going to take you, say, 10 to 15 years. So if you've got loads of credit card debt, unsecured loans, car loans, start by paying off the one with the higher interest first and work your way down. And if you're going to be going down the consolidating debt route, I always say to people, when you consolidate your debt, I beg in the name of God, once you've paid off that credit card, don't go start spending on it again, because what's going to happen, you're going to find yourself in the exact same situation. When it comes to budgeting and financial planning, it really, really does take a lot of discipline. You need to say to yourself, this is the start of the rest of my life. I do not want to be in debt anymore. So once you've consolidated debt, please don't go back and take more loans. I always advise people, cut up that credit card, cancel it, just let it disappear from your life forever. And once you've paid off your debt, you know that you're going to bring your credit rating back up to a good stead, and then you can start, getting better mortgages and whatnot. Now, once you've done all of those things, another thing I advise people to do is to increase their income. And people think that, now because it's during COVID and people are furloughed and whatnot, but it's a good time for you to leverage on things like remote working. I know people, for example, who in these COVID times will work their regular 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. they're working another job. There's so many remote jobs that you can do right now. I recently referred my friend to a website called Tribendi, where she gets paid for editing. There's a company called Limitless, where you basically are a customer service agent. And I know people who've earned up to $2,000 extra on top of the pay on a monthly basis. Just go online and look for remote working opportunities. Now it's time for us to leverage this extra spare time that we're having. I find that now that I'm working from home, I'm more relaxed because I don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. to then get ready for work, drop my son off at school. I can wake up, at 8:45, work 9 to 5, and, still have time to do anything extra that I need to. Obviously, if you're in the front line, things are going to be a bit different for you. But if you do have that opportunity to be able to increase your income, please do that. If you've got that side hustle that you've been looking to start, now is a good time for you to start that, because trust me, extra money is always good. It will help you to clear off anything that you need to do. If you're working from home, now's probably a time to renegotiate your contract. You might find that you're doing more than you should be doing. Speak to your boss and see if they can give you an increase in pay. And I find that a lot of women don't like to take these opportunities, because they feel like, I'm not going to earn it. But sis, get those coins. There's this thing that I read online where it talks about when men want to apply for jobs, they just apply for jobs regardless, and women only apply when they're ready. Don't think that you're overqualified for something. Apply, because what happens, you find out that you're actually skilled. Ask for that pay rise. Don't be shy. Go with with everything that you've done. What I do on a monthly basis at work is, for every time I've done something amazing for a customer, I'll write that down so that when it comes to the end of the year, when we're doing reviews, I can say, this is what I've done and I deserve this pay. And half the time it always works out because you've done the job. So renegotiate your contract, ask for that pay rise, start that side hustle, look for remote working opportunities, bank that check, ladies. And that is the end of Financial Planning and Debt Management 101. Thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions, just wait till the Q&A session. Or if you need any help, I've just left my email address on there. So just drop me an email and I can email the slides today as well. Thank you, everyone.